The vote is a few days away, but how long has the voice to Parliament been in the works? Kaya from Wajak Noongar land. I'm Theo, and today let's look at how this referendum is both Indigenous-led and has been worked on for over a decade. This proposal has its roots as far back as William Cooper's petition to King George in the 1930s. But for the purposes of simplicity, we'll start in 2010, when the expert panel on constitutional recognition was formed by the government after requests by Indigenous leaders. In 2015, 40 Indigenous leaders presented the Kirribilli Statement to the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition. They asked for constitutional change to address the twin issues of recognition and Indigenous disadvantage. Indigenous leaders at this point wanted to make sure that any constitutional change that happened wasn't just symbolic, but was substantial as well. A change that could, once implemented, start to have a meaningful impact. In that spirit, the Referendum Council was formed, and they organised between 2016 and 2017 a dozen regional dialogues to explore the issue of constitutional change. These meetings had approximately 100 people each. 60% were from traditional owner groups, 20% were from community organisations, and 20% were significant individuals. And all of them were Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. Participants were gender balanced and included youth representatives, First Nations people off country, and the stolen generations. These dialogues were held all over Australia, from the capital cities to places like Broome, Dubbo, Cairns, Ross River, and the Torres Strait Islands. After these meetings, delegates from each of these dialogues went to Uluru in May 2017 with the goal of having a clear consensus for constitutional change. Change that would be both symbolic and substantial. This led to the historic consensus of the Uluru Statement from the Heart, the basis for this week's referendum. You can read more about it in this book. There are a lot of different options put on the table at these meetings, but at the end of the day, the Uluru delegates called for a constitutionally enshrined voice, as that would not reduce or diminish the power of the existing system of government, but instead it would create a substantial means for First Nations peoples to speak to their government and be heard. While there have been parliamentary committees and proposed models for the voice put forward since then, the significance of Uluru and this referendum is so important, as it is the culmination of years of consultation and the single largest constitutional convention in the Federation's history. A group of people more representative of its population than the delegates that wrote this country's constitution in the first place. So, this is not something that has been led by Canberra or led by politicians. The history of The Voice is a decade-long grassroots-led campaign by First Nations for First Nations. And voting yes will mean you are voting in favour of a decade-long process of consultation and work. Voting no will mean we will have to start all over again. How long will that take? It's not a Labor thing. It's not a new thing. It's the right thing. And that's why I'm voting yes.